35th District Representative Dan Griffey in studio with me. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. More time spent at our state capitol here, not necessarily because the special session is going on, but with bill signings more and more this week for bills that you have worked very hard on over the last couple of years. And let's talk about some of the ones that got signed this week.
So the senior tax exemption that we talked about last week was signed into law. I was pleased to see representatives from the North Mason Senior Center and Shelton Senior Center there in attendance, and very happy to get this finally over the top. We also, a couple weeks ago, we talked about my marijuana lockbox bill. There was a project at Hawkins Middle School that they thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
We didn't know that both of us had this great idea at the same time. And they were proposing that in their kind of government class that they were taking. And so we'll be presenting, Amber and I, my assistant, will be presenting them official copies of the signed law next week. And we'll give a little presentation on how Washington State government works, that kind of thing.
That's amazing that you guys were working on that and that Hawkins, but no kind of
we did talk
connection.
We didn't know until they scheduled a tour of the Capitol. The teacher called my assistant and said that was going on. So that's going to be fun. I like that a lot. I did have my first death threat on Facebook, so I think I've arrived as a politician.
You have arrived.
I have arrived.
Sure. What did you do this time?
Well, something about they liked it was one of my bill signings. I like what the governor did, but you should die Republican scum. And I thought, let's just talk about that for a minute. We don't have time. We shouldn't have time for that here. Like I said, every 2 years it's time to politic, but in the meantime, work with your legislator, don't work against your legislator, kind of thing. I got big shoulders, so I can take all the criticism under the sun,
right.
But death threats gets a little
what happens
ridiculous.
There? I mean,
does
it get forwarded on to somebody?
We have security at the Capitol campus, and WSP does investigations. I had a couple of real crazy people. I shouldn't say crazy people, mentally disturbed people, I guess, that started just harassing me, following me everywhere I went.
In person?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't just to take pictures, just to harass. It was more, if you look at the threats and the body tone, mannerisms, that kind of thing. So WSP does a investigation. Usually when WSP shows up at your door, you usually end your behavior.
Yeah.
On this one, we didn't. It's just what you see typical rantings on Facebook now, and I'm just kind of getting to the point in time where I think we need to all of us need to stand up and just not allow it. We need to say we're going to be constructive and we're going to have constructive criticism, or we're not going to enter into this anymore.
That is a tough.
But I've arrived. I mean,
that's true. If you're not making people mad, if you're not doing your job,
I guess not.
Speaking of making people mad, let's go back to this senior center thing. One of the big pushbacks on this was from Department of Revenue.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with that?
So Representative Frame, who is the assistant ranking on the committee, so the committee chair didn't want to hear it at all. So I went to Representative Frame. She's a freshman, and I told her, Representative, you will like this bill, yeah, but Revenue has a problem with it. And I said, well, we write the laws. And she's like a light bulb. You can see the light bulb go off over her head. She's like, you're right, we do. The agencies don't write the laws.
Yeah.
We do. So through that engagement, she said, let me think on it over the weekend. And she came back, she says, you're right, let's push this bill through. So we got it out of committee. They voted out unanimously, and then we got to the floor. And she was an enthusiastic supporter. And, this is one of those bills where she voted with me on this bill, but she very rarely votes with me on other bills, right? And it was really neat to find that common ground. And then now this is a kind of a building point where I can find more common ground with her. So it was fun.
Nice.
I like the exercise. But
it sounds like a good one. Let's talk about 1109, the rape kit.
Yeah, so we've been trying since I've been in the legislature now. This is the third year to try to get all of the untested rape kits that are on the shelves at WSP or wherever in evidence tested, and that DNA, once it's tested, put in the CODIS database, and that way we could maybe try to find and put the puzzle pieces together to find the people that committed these crimes. We've tried another version. It's Representative Tina Orwell's bill. She's the Speaker pro tempore. I work with her on a lot of bills that have to do with sexual abuse and those sort of things. And in the bill, we have some money to train law enforcement officers on, how you interview the patients, the people that have been victims of these crimes. We also put in there some money for skilled data collection nurses, so they do it right. Okay. So we get the conviction on them. But I think it's an important bill. It is somewhat controversial. People don't like their DNA being in a database, and we have mechanisms on there to remove the DNA profiles for fraudulent and false accusations, but most of them aren't false or fraudulent. Most of them you'll find a lady or a gentleman that's really beat up, and they didn't do that to themselves. Sure. And so you're pretty sure that something significant has happened.
So do you have to? So it's a nurse. That's not part of the normal training a nurse goes through. It's an additional step of just making sure you collect things properly. And
it is an additional step, absolutely. But the biggest thing is almost being their counselor. Yeah. Because of it's really, they want to fly, right? They don't want it's so embarrassing. They don't want to go through what they have to go through. So just the counseling aspect to make sure you're taking care of them, those kind of things, those are the things that we really need. And that's kind of what the training will give. Less on the collection, because you read a step 1 through 8, right? You do all that, put the gloves on, sterile gloves and all that kind of stuff, and how you do it. But the biggest thing is how do you start the healing process and help them out? It's probably the most traumatic event that would happen in one's life, and we should start it out proper.
Do you have any ideas on numbers of folks who, if this goes through and you start searching things through, how many people could be?
Yeah, so I don't remember the state, but the state that initiated the total rape kit testing, they were able to identify 60 serial rapists. And so it doesn't sound like a huge amount when we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of crimes in Washington state. But when you talk about serial rapists, you could fix 6,000 or help 6,000 people, because there's usually hundreds of abuse cases. And every time they get away with it, they get more emboldened, more emboldened, more emboldened. So this thing could spiral. It could be huge with just 60 individuals that we catch.
Wow.
Or crimes that we solve.
Sure.
Closure that we give.
This is moving through, will be signed?
Signed? It was signed into law. I was supposed to be there for the picture and missed I got there late. The governor started early. Goodness gracious.
Jeez, one time he starts early.
Yeah, well, and I got to tell you, I don't want to knock on the governor too much, but he vetoed a part of my growth management bill that made it through as a Senate, as a Senate version, and I was a little disappointed to be there for the veto ceremony too. Yeah. Usually with veto ceremonies, we just I don't want to be there. No. Oh, wow. But I snuck in and got there for the veto ceremony too.
Well, you're doing some great work this session here as it does move on. I talked with a little bit with Representative McEwen yesterday on that progress. I know he's a little closer on those negotiations, so we're going to stick with that with him, and we'll let you off on the have a good weekend then.
Yeah. Well, I did see the two negotiators talking at the Sundial. Okay. When you talk at the Sundial, that's a serious negotiation in Olympia. Most good things happen at the Sundial. So just the other day on Tuesday, I saw both of them having a very good conversation. Sundial. Yep. Sundial. That's where it all happens.
On the back side of the Capitol, right in front of the library there is where you can find that, get your picture taken in the Sundial. I didn't know that was the spot.
That's where you do it. That's where you fix it all.
Start sneaking around there. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, have a nice weekend.